Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover video of the Adria Coral 670 SLT Supreme. So to hook the vehicle up using the habitation key, your first locker behind your driver's door is your hook-up locker. So always connect the vehicle first with the hook-up lead. So you get your hook-up lead, you lift the collar, you hook the van up first, then the sight, and do it in reverse order when unhooking so that you're never walking around with a live lead in your hand. And you do it exactly the same way as if you're hooking it up at home as you are on a site. The only thing you might need to use at home is a 3-pin adapter, so it converts the 16 amp site end to a 3-pin plug so you can plug it into your garage or outdoor socket on the driveway. On this one, it's had an extra fitted, which is a external socket, so if you want power for your awning, as long as you're hooked up, you'll get a 230 feed to this point. And then you do have an exterior telly point, so if you wanted to put the telly in the awning when you're parked up, you can do. You've got 2 USBs and you have a 12 volt point there as well. Fitted to this motorhome as well, you do have a external barbecue point. So it's an outdoor gas point, so it works off the main bottle on board the vehicle, and it gives you a connection point so you can put your Cadac or external barbecue connected to this point with a quick release connection. You'll need a length of rubber gas hose and 2 Jubilee clips to secure each end. Connect the quick release connection onto the bayonet fitting here, and then turn the tap on, and you'll get a flow of gas from the bottle on board, making sure that you turn it off before disconnecting. So at the back of the SLT, you do have your large boot area. So you've got storage in here for underneath the bed. You've got tethering rails. You've got through loading as well, so if you've got deck chairs, tables, skis, boards, anything, you can slide them underneath. It is heated via the Aldi heating system, so all of this is a radiator here at the front. Your barbecue gas tap is in here as well, so there's one on the actual barbecue at the front, but there's another one, so make sure that's on. If you've ever put anything in there and caught that and isolated it like so, you'll not get any gas no matter how hard you try with the other gas tap on the front of the barbecue point, so make sure that is turned on. You've also got your garage heating system, so you can have that on or off. So at the moment that is turned on, so it will heat the garage. If you wanted to use the heat elsewhere, you can turn that off and it just stops heating the garage, because some people don't want the garage heated, but if you're storing extra food for a longer trip, extra clothes and bits and pieces like that, you may want it on, and that's how you turn it on and off there. You've got your 230 volt socket, so again when hooked up that'll work. 12 volt light will come on once the control panel in the vehicle is turned on, and you do have a 10 amp 12 volt socket. You'll find the location of your carpets and your awning winding handle in here, and your extra seat backs and headrests for your travelling seat. But most of all, you've got 2 extra bits in here. So you've got an exterior shower. So with the vehicle, there's a Reich fitment which fits onto here, and on the other end of the hose there's a trigger gun. As long as you've got the pump turned on the main control panel, you'll get a pressurized flow of water to this point. However, you've got to have the Aldi heating system on, and the boiler has to be up to temperature for the water to get hot water, otherwise you will just get cold. So if you're using it from having the vehicle stood, it will just be cold. Hook the vehicle up or put your water on gas or electric, whichever one is available to you, and then you can heat your water. In here, with the little leg, this is your cassette toilet. So as the washroom is across the rear of this vehicle, to get the cassette out, what you've got to do is lift the orange handle and slide the cassette free of the vehicle. The cassette will then come out. You've got a handle so you can drag it to the waste disposal point if it's too heavy to carry. But to empty it, you need to remove the grey cap, and then you need to pour the contents of the toilet down the Elson point on site, which is normally beside the toilet block and shower block. As you're pouring it, press this button. It allows a bit of air in the orange button at the back, gives it a consistent flow and allows all the waste to come out. Once it's out, there's a tap near the Elson point. Pop some water in, pop the cap back on, give it a rinse, shake the cassette, rinse, tip out again, and then you would go in with a cap full of chemicals, which is either green or blue. 120 ml. You can measure it to be precise, so you can just tip it down here. As long as it's got some chemical in, about 120 ml, it will dilute with the water that you flush down the toilet and start to break your waste up. Be careful with what toilet roll you use. Don't use any Andrex or Comfort or anything that's thick and nice plush toilet paper that you'd use at home, because it'll block the cassette up. Use either Thetford toilet roll, which you can get from Go Outdoors, Halfords or online, or use your thinner toilet paper, as it breaks up better and it won't block the cassette. On the back panel, you do have your high level brake light, your rear reverse camera on the back, so that's your reversing camera. Your Fiamma bars, so the back panel has been strengthened to take a bike rack when the back panel was constructed. So if it's a Fiamma bike rack, which is a Pro C or Pro E, if it's electric bikes, it will fit on here. And then at the bottom, you've got a fixed tow bar with 13-pin electrics. And you do also have your 4 reversing park and eye sensors. This side you do have access to your garage on the passenger side single bed. So again, through loading, got a bit of storage down here, your carpets, your bits and pieces. You've got some tethering rails. It is heated this side as well, so you can store what you need this side, with a max payload across the garage of 200 kilograms, which states here. Your wastewater point is here, but it's controlled by an electronic switch on the plastic B pillar beside your passenger seat. So just feel down beside the seat belt, which I'll show you going further on in the video, but that's how you open your waste. You want to ensure your waste is drained off before you leave the site, because there's no reason for you to be driving around with a full tank of waste. You're just going to add more weight to the vehicle, which eats up weight in your payload, so it means you can't put any more personal items on board, and you're going to use more diesel by driving around with the added weight. So dump the water at the site, drive over the disposal point if you're not on a super pitch where you can connect. If you're on a super pitch, you just connect a hose and leave it open all the time. If you're on a standard pitch, you just drive over the grid, drop the water. Once you've dropped the water, leave it open so that when you rock down the road, it'll rock any loose water out, because the tank is flat. And this is your waste disposal point. So now in the gas locker, I've got my 6 kilogram propane test bottle on here to show you gas appliances working on board. But to connect the bottle, you've got a gas pigtail, which is a hand tightened thumb wheel. So no need for a spanner or adjustable wrench. You can do it all with your thumb and your fingers. Tighten it up, left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with the being gas. And then you just need to take 1 or 2 turns of the top of the bottle to allow the gas through into the regulator, which is at the back there. If that yellow nib ever pops out, to reset it, you press and hold it for 10 seconds, which is what the yellow sticker beside explains. Making sure that it's turned off before you drive off your site or from home. Make sure that the bottle's tightened in, and you can fit 2 6 kilogram bottles in this locker, or you can do 1 6 and 1 13, which is your bigger bottle in here, so that it's always best that you travel with an extra bottle. So if one bottle does become empty, you've got a reserve bottle, and then you can go off and find your local colour dealer and swap the empty bottle for a full again. Going through these points here, you've got your Aldi boiler flue. So on gas, this will allow fumes out, so just make sure it's never obstructed, which it won't be because it's not on the awning side, it's on the other side of the vehicle. You've got a 12-volt point here for a submersible pump. So this is a power point. So if you lift this off, you've got a point so that you can use a submersible pump. If you can't get a hose to the vehicle, you can bring water to it, put your power point in there, put one end in here, which is your water filler anyway, and put the pump into the water, and it'll pump the water from the barrel aqua roll bucket into the freshwater tank. But mainly you would just carry your hose pipe with some hose pipe fittings, connect it to the site's tap, because that's just a brass tap they provide. Hose into here and fill it until it overflows, or until you're happy there is enough water on board, which you can see on your main 12-volt control panel. At the passenger door, you've got a flap here, which you open up to fill up with diesel, which you'd use with your main Fiat ignition key. And then underneath, it's a 19-litre AdBlue tank, so it does take AdBlue as it's Euro 6 compliant. It'll tell you on the dash when it needs it. From a full 19 litres, it'll do 5,500 miles on a full tank of AdBlue. Once you've done around 4,500 miles, and you've got 1,000 miles left of that 5,000 mile range, you'll get a light on the dash which tells you that you need to top your AdBlue up because it's low. Go to a big petrol forecourt that accommodates wagons, and you can buy it on the pump for about 120 litre. Or because some petrol stations will sell it in the drums of 10 litres, a £30 a drum, that's £60 to fill 19 litres. So if you buy it on the pump, it's a lot cheaper, and you might only need to do this once a year, depending on the mileage that you're going to cover in the motorhome. On this sticker here, you've got your tyre size and tyre pressures, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi. So located just underneath the passenger seat belt, you've got your switch for your wastewater. So at the top, it's a 3-position switch. At the top, in the position it's in now, in position 1, is closed. You can use this when on site. It'll fill your wastewater tank up, should I say. Once the wastewater is full, you'll get a notification on the control panel, but you can't see how much the waste has got in at any one time via the probes that are in the tank. To empty the waste, you'd go to the bottom position, and if you look at the wastewater at the back, you'll see the water coming out. But if you go to the middle position, what you can do is you can leave the valve open, but there's no strain on the electronic motor connected to it, so it'll still let it drain, but you've just opened the valve and now you've put it into a position where the valve's left open, and it'll just continuously let the water drain out. So you might want to leave it in this position in the winter when you've drained it down to ensure that there's no water left in the tank, or if you're connecting to a pipe on a super site, pop it into the middle position. But when you want to lock it and use the whole capacity of the tank, it's at the top, and the bottom is to drain it out and let all the water out. Middle is just no strain, but leaves the valve open so the water is freely available to come out the wastewater tank. So in the floor of the cab on the Fiat Ducato is the location of the engine battery. So it's not underneath the bonnet, it's underneath here. So if you ever need to change it in years to come, you've got to lift the panel off and you can freely access the battery and lift it out the cab floor. But if you want underneath the bonnet, it's on the side of the dashboard when the passenger door is open. So to operate your rear air suspension, you've got a gauge here with 2 pressures. So one is either side of the back axle. You've got a switch here which you lift up. There's a compressor under the seat which blows the air suspension up, or you can press it down and you'll deflate it, press it up, and it can bring the air suspension up. And you can do the same this side to match. The air suspension is great if you are have a little bit more weight on board, or you like a firmer ride instead of it hopping all over the road slightly when it's loaded. You can make the back axle more sturdy by blowing the air suspension up, but when you're lighter you might want to bring it back down so that it's not as hard of a ride. Or if you're towing a vehicle or a small car, you might want to put a bit more air in the air suspension, and they tend to run between 1.5 to 3 bar. but it's best looking on motorhome forums to see what other people are running, as air suspension can vary depending on the ride quality that you are wanting out of your vehicle. So to use your HPC hydraulic leveling system, so if you're not level on a site, what you've got to do is you've got to switch the ignition on, ensure that your handbrake is applied, electronic handbrake on this vehicle. Some vehicles have a manual one, but make sure that is on, otherwise you'll not be able to level it because the system will not allow you. And then fitted near the door, you'll have a control panel. So it takes its feed off the main engine battery, and it takes a couple of seconds for the screen to warm up. Press and hold to unlock. Accept the terms and conditions and press continue, and press leveling. And you want to auto level, and that will start to auto level. And what it does is it does it in pairs. So it does the passenger side of the rams first, then the driver's side, and then it takes the weight of the vehicle before adjusting to get it perfectly level. And then once it's level, it will tell you that it's finished on the screen, and you'll see that the little yellow dot is within the 2 circles on the bubble to ensure that the vehicle is leveled up. So once it's made a few maneuvers to adjust itself, it'll come up with this screen here. As you can see there, it's level, it said it's finished. It'll take you back to the home screen. There's a light beside the handbrake on the vehicle which tells you that the jacks are down, and just so that you can't start up with the jacks down. They should automatically retract when the engine is started, but it's always best to store the legs away first. So to do this, you press leveling and you press store, and it'll drop the legs back down and store them up so that you're safe to drive off your pitch and get back onto the road. So to operate the control panel once you're on board the vehicle, around the outside of the panel, top and bottom, it tells you all your options. So I'll go through those first. So it tells you that the outside air temperature is 12 degrees. The inside of the vehicle is currently reading 13 degrees. Your on means hookup. Your awning light is on. You're charging the leisure battery, as it shows the battery at the back of the vehicle. So that's a leisure battery getting charged by mains to 30 volt. You've got 50% of fresh water in your main fresh tank, 0 waste, and your pump is on. Now to operate it, you just press the buttons around the outside. So you've got a master switch, which is your on and off main power button. This will turn on your 12 volt system. Obviously, if you are hooked up to mains to 30 volt, you will get mains power to power mains appliances and use 3-pin plugs throughout the van. You've got your battery reading. So if you press there, you can scroll between the 2 batteries, so you can see that the carb battery is 12.6 volts and the leisure battery is 14.7 plus 3.67 amps coming in. That is because we're hooked up. Take the hookup out to get a true reading of your leisure batteries, because this is a false reading because the vehicle is on charge. Water, so 50% fresh, 0 waste. Put your back button there. Lights, so you've got this one here, which is your main master switch for your lights on board the vehicle. So you need to turn that on to then turn the switches on around the inside of the van. And this one being your awning light, which is a light on the outside of the motorhome. So if you're sitting under the canopy or you're going on a walk, you might want to put your light on so that if you're coming back, it's a bit dusk there, you can find your vehicle. Temperatures, 14 inside, 12 outside. Settings, so you do your time, your date through here, your screen brightness, your batteries and so on. So you can change what battery but it's currently on an AGM battery, so if you change the batteries to lithium or anything, you need to change it there, but if you're not bothered, just leave it as it is. Here you've got your pump, so you've got your on-off switch for your pump. Make sure your pump's only on when you've got sufficient water on board. Without the pump, you don't want to burn the pump out with no water being on. So to operate your Aldi control panel, so to start the panel up, you need to press the on button, and then you'll get the green light. This tells you the temperature scale, so you've got a plus and a minus, so you can adjust the temperature that you want the inside of the vehicle to be, and that is where it's saying 29 degrees. So we've selected 29 degrees to get the vehicle warm. Above, which is saying 17 degrees, is the temperature that it's currently reading inside of the vehicle at present. And then below here is the outside temperature. So where it's got the picture of the little tree there, 11 degrees, that's the outside air temperature. You always need to have it above the outside air temperature. So in the summer, if it's 20 degrees outside, select the heating to 22 or 23 degrees, and then that will give a little bit of a difference, but you probably won't be using it then anyway. Press menu. It tells you that the inside temperature is 17, outside's 11, like I've explained. The fan is on circulation, so it's currently on. It's connected to mains, which is in the top left hand corner, and you've got your time in the top right. Now which energy source you want to use, you'd press energy. It's telling you that it's currently selected on 2 kilowatts of mains electric. You can choose between not having it on electric, having it on 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts, 2, which is about 1800 watts, and 3, which is 3000 watts. So that all depends on the amperage of your site, which depends what you use. But mainly on most sites throughout the UK, you would use 2 kilowatts. And then if you weren't hooked up, you can turn your gas on, which is just here, which you'd use if you were wild camping. However, in the winter when it's really cold, you might want to use electric and gas together for the first 20 minutes to bring the vehicle to temperature before turning the gas off. You can turn on high altitude mode, which is only for use at altitudes above 1000 meters. So if you are abroad or you go to Switzerland or anywhere like that, you can turn that on. It'll always prioritize electric, so when hooked up it'll always prioritize mains rather than gas. And the hot water, which is just here, you can turn off, on or boost. Boost is a 30-minute setting, so if I put that on there, it says 30 minutes left of boost, and it'll put all the power to the hot water for half an hour, and then what it'll do is it'll allow the heating to come back on, but it does turn the heating off to prioritize the hot water. So if you want it to run together, just put that to on. In the settings here, you can set day and night mode. Day and night mode are just modes that you can select the temperature. So if you click night mode, it tells you what day you want it to run, when you want it to start, when you want it to end, what temperature you want it to inside, but you turn that on there. It also works the AC through here, so if the vehicle's fitted with aircon, which this particular vehicle is, you'll be able to use your air conditioning on a night. You've got AC there as well to turn it on and off, but it does have a separate remote, as this one has been opted with an air conditioning. But if you're watching this and it's a generic video, just make sure that you either know that the vehicle's got air conditioning or it doesn't. And you can also set a day mode as well. So say on a night time you want it to be no warmer than 15 degrees inside the van, but during the day you want it to be 23 degrees inside the van. There's a difference, so you can set it so that it ends and it'll then cool down and it'll just maintain the temperature during the night for you. But that's between the night, it can be found in the menu, in the night and the day mode. Or if you're setting off from home, if you're able to hook the vehicle up great. A few days before, hook the vehicle up. Not only does this allow your leisure battery to take a good charge, you can also put your fridge onto mains, allow that to go down to temperature, put your shopping in, allow that to chill overnight if possible, and then when you come to drive away, if it's on automatic, it'll switch over the engine setting straight away. So start the vehicle, unhook the van, drive off. It'll act like a giant cool box when you're travelling. When you get to your site, hook back up, it'll switch over by itself. The only time it waits is if you have been travelling and you're not going on to mains, you're going on to gas. It waits 20 minutes before lighting on gas, and this is a safety feature in case you're filling with diesel. The last thing you want is it to spark around petrol. So to get over this 20-minute wait function, all you need to do is press a square button and manually select the source you want. So you go from, you've turned it off automatic, there's mains on its own, there's battery on its own, and there's gas. So there's gas, temperature, you can adjust that. So when pre-chilling, have it on 5. When you put your shopping in, just turn it down because sometimes it can freeze the food in the fridge. And there you've self-selected gas. But what I would do is just leave it on automatic, unless you are going wild camping where you just have to change it over. When not using it, turn it off. Open the fridge door. Allow this to be left open because it's got a rubber seal on there. It'll trap the air and it'll make it start to smell with the air trapped in there. So clean it out, flick the blue clip into the middle, and don't shut the door with any force, just rest it upon the catch. And you'll be able to allow the air to circulate in and out without trapping air. So if you're storing it over the winter or just a couple of months when you're not using it, it just allows the air to circulate in and out. So to operate your Thetford fridge, the black button here with the blue light on, which means it's on, is your on-off button. So you just press and hold that, it would go off, press and hold, and it will come back on. But then to get the control panel to come on, you need to press it once. And then, or you can press the square button. This tells you what source it's on here, and this tells you the temperature of the fridge. So it's currently on A, which stands for automatic energy selection. Picture of a plug's lit up there, which means it's on mains 230 volt. To change this, you press this button, but you don't need to change it because the beauty with automatic is it picks out the best source available to the motorhome at any one time, and it will always prioritise mains voltage. When it can't find mains and the gas is open, it will select gas and self-ignite. And when it can't find gas, as long as your engine's running, it sends a feed for when you're travelling of 12 volt from the alternator of the engine to the fridge, and it'll act as a giant cool box, but it's got to be pre-chilled beforehand. So if you've been to one site and you're driving to the next, it's been on, the shopping's in, great, it's down to temperature, it'll drive and just maintain that temperature until you get your next. So located underneath your dinette seat is your freshwater tank. So this freshwater tank has a capacity of 110 litres. However, you don't want to ever be driving around with 110 litres where not necessary. You will if you're going wild camping because you'll have nowhere to get water. But if you're going to sites, don't bother driving around with 110 litres from home to your site because you're just going to be more heavier. That's 110 kilograms of payload gone out the window because this is taking it up. Plus you're going to use more fuel travelling. So it's always best that what you need to do is if you go from 110 to 20 litres, 20 litres is still more than enough to use your own toilet on board and not stop at service stations. Have a cup of tea, make yourself some lunch. So what you need to do is if you turn this, you'll hear the water. I can hear the water now, and it's draining from full capacity to 20 litres, and it's going to leave 20 litres left in the van. However, if I open it all the way, it'll go to 0, which you want to do in the winter. Because in the winter, you want to make sure that there's no water left in any water tank. So fresh, waste, all the taps inside the van left open, boiler open, and that will eliminate any water that could potentially freeze on board the vehicle in any pipes and any tanks and any lines. If you want an access to your freshwater tank, you can here. So you can remove the blue cap and you put a cleaner in if you want, or you can check the condition of the water through there. But always make sure it's fully drained off in the winter by turning this as far as you can turn it. Make sure all the water's out. Make sure the fresh and the waste is open. Boiler, all the taps, and then turn your pump on for 10 seconds to blow the water out of the pump, and that will stop anything from freezing and causing any damage via frost damage. So in the hatch in the floor is your boiler drain. So in the winter it's very important that you drain the boiler down. This is an anti-frost valve. So located just behind is your boiler, which holds 10 litres of hot water and provides air-blown heating throughout the vehicle. However, when you're not using it, it's very important that you drain it down in the winter. You don't have to drain it down in the summer when we're experiencing normal temperatures. It's when we're experiencing cold temperatures. So anywhere from the back end of October, November to March, April time when we're in our winter season. So all you need to do is this will automatically drain itself at 3 degrees when it senses the cold. However, never become fully reliant on this in case it ever does become faulty. So what I would do is when I park the vehicle up and I'm not going to use it again, just turn the valve. The blue button pushes out at the bottom and all the water drains directly out underneath the van out of the boiler. When I want to reuse it, you turn the diamond on the top and push the button back in and it shuts. However, if you're using it in the winter for that odd weekend and that button isn't staying in, try just heating the area up first by selecting the heating first for the first 10-15 minutes. Push the button in, this area should get warm because there's a pipe here. If not, blow the hairdryer on it, that warms it up because it's doing its job. It's staying open and opening the valve because it's sensing that it's cold. Open this, open all the taps throughout the vehicle, drain the waste off, drain the freshwater tank off, and then this means that nothing can stay on board the vehicle and cause any damage with water because everything's open. So now in the kitchen you've got a 3-burner gas hob. So there you can see all 3 burners are working. Once you've had them on, allow them to cool before you put the glass lid down. You've got a pressurised flow of water, and that water is red hot there as your hot water system has been on. And then underneath you've got a grill. Under your grill you do have your oven. And then making sure that you push all your catches in before you start travelling. So you've got your sink plugs, your grill pan handle in there. Make sure you push all these in, the soft close. Your location of your water pumps under this drawer. So if you ever need access to that, there's 2 clips on the bottom of the drawer that lifts up. That's where your water pump is. Storage under here. And then under this one is the location of your gas taps. So you've got 4 gas taps: fridge, heating and hot water system, hob, and your oven. Any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe as you're isolating the main source. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. However, if you know what appliance is causing the issue, you just need to turn it like so. That's closed, they're open. That's now all open, so you can isolate it if you think there's a problem. But the best way to do it is isolating the source of the bottle, then you're isolating the gas, and then you're 100% safe that there's no gas leakage. So underneath the bench seat, directly behind the driver's seat, you have the location of your leisure battery. You have your module, your 12 volt charger module. So this has got all your 12 volt fuses in for all your 12 volt appliances on board. So if anything isn't working, it's always going to be a fuse if it's not battery related. So carry some spare standard blade fuses with you, and you can just pick the fuse out, check the center of the fuse. If the center of the fuse is intact like this one is, you're fine. If it's blown, you would just get the same amperage of fuse, which this is a 15, and replenish the fuse in the charger. Just further back, you've got your solar panel system there, so that's your charger for your solar panel. That all works through the main control panel. So if you want to see your battery levels when not hooked up, the solar will then maintain them, but not from flat. You've got to bring it up to a certain percentage, and the solar panel will only maintain the charge. So if it's flat, hook it up. View that through the main control panel for your voltage of your batteries, your leisure battery, when the solar panel is charging it. And then you do have your trips. So if you've tripped the vehicle out, try here before you try your main site. It's more than likely going to be the site, but this as the fuse RCD unit on the vehicle. If you think you're not receiving power, the best way to check is by tripping the vehicle. If the vehicle trips like it has there now, because we're on hookup, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, you're not receiving power. So across the width of the back of the vehicle on the SLT, you do have your washroom. So starting off with your toilet. To operate the toilet, it's a freshwater fed system, so all your flush comes from your water that you've put in with a hose pipe. So make sure the pump's on, press the button, you'll get a pressurized flow of cold water through the toilet. Before you use it, you want to open the blade, which is a grey lever on the pedestal of the toilet. So slide that to the right, to the back of the vehicle. Use the toilet. Once you've finished using the toilet, flush. If you've bought any pink liquid, put a small amount of pink in an empty spray bottle, dilute with water, spray the bowl, it'll clean the bowl. It's an odour and neutralising spray as well. And then you can close the blade once you've flushed. Always get no habit of doing it this way, as when the cassette indicates that it's full with a red light underneath the diagram of the cassette there on the back where the flush button is, you'll be able to slide out the side of the vehicle and go and empty it, rinse it, replenish it with chemical. With the blade being open, the cassette won't come out, so the blade has to be closed to get the cassette out, as it locks the mechanism of the cassette in underneath the toilet. You've got your light switches in here, toiletry cabinet, some more toiletry space. Your sink plug just pushes in. And you've got a flow of water there, so your pump's working. It's getting warm. You've got your reading little lights there, which are quite nice. So you don't have to have the main lights on. You can just have those on a night if you wish. And then here you have your shower cubicle. So your main switch for your lights in your shower cubicle is underneath here. So it catches a lot of people out. Ensure that your shower screens are tied back before travel. When winterizing, unscrew your shower head from the hose. Lie this silicone hose down in the shower tray. Stops any water collecting in there and potentially freezing and causing any damage with the mixer taps left open, like you would with all taps once you've drained the systems down. And ensure that you don't use any bleach or any harsh scourers on any of the plastics, toilet, sink, shower cubicle, shower tray, because you will damage the finish. Use a microfiber cloth, some Fairy Up liquid or some Dettol spray, but nothing too harsh to damage the finish, because it is just plastic. So in the wardrobe of the washroom as well, because you've got an Aldi heating and hot water system, which is a wet system, and it uses G13 coolant, which is VW approved type of coolant, which tells you on the sticker. You've got a header tank. This holds the coolant. You've got a min and a max level there. You can see there it's on max because the system's on, it's bubbling, it's hot, it's pressurized. Always run the system up first before topping the system up, because you might top it up when it's on and it might then pressurize and it might be way above. So run it up first, let it set, and then if it needs topped up you can do, but always ensure that you top it up within the min and the max level. Don't ever take it well above max, because it is a pressurized tank. This liquid lasts 5 years, so it's a 5-year lifespan. So every 5 years the system needs completely drained down and replenished with brand new G13 coolant, because what happens is within the 5 years of use it heats up, cools down, heats up and cools down, and does lose its antifreeze properties. It's the same as your car. Garages do recommend a coolant change every so often on your vehicle. It's the same with this. As it heats up and cools down, you wouldn't want it to lose its antifreeze properties and cause any damage. So do listen to Aldi and the recommendations they take when saying that it needs replenished after 5 years. They do recommend 5 different types of coolant as well if you do need to top it up. When topping it up, this panel here slides off. You've got a breather pipe, but you've got a cap there you can take off and fill your Aldi system with new G13 coolant. So on the SLT model, you do have 2 single beds either side with the rear washroom. You've got some large hanging space, so you've got one in the washroom, one here and one here, so you've got 3 wardrobes on this vehicle. Your lights are dimmable by pressing and holding, and they'll dim down. So you can dim your lights like so. So if you're in bed and it's a bit too bright for you on full brightness, you can dim it down. Push the lockers. And you've got storage throughout the top. And then underneath the beds, you can lift these up as well, which you can't access from outside. And you've got storage here as well. So now with your cushions in, this is how your front bed makes up. So these are your backrests. You need to turn them round so the top of the cushion is facing in over, so you get the slope, so you can put your pillows on and sleep this way on. These are your base cushions, which are pulled forward, and this is your infill cushion, which can be found in one of the wardrobes to create the front bed on the 670 SLT. So to make the frame for the front bed, you need to use a table. So if you push the table down and push it in as well, and there's a handle, a half handle this side, which locks the table into position. So it's just here, you'll feel it when you're standing this side of the table. And then you need to use the makeup board, which is this here. Put the legs down. Goes like this. And that's how you make the frame for the front bed. I will now put the cushions in the order that you need the cushions in, and I'll show you how they go. So to make the 5th travelling seat, which is a backwards facing seat, keep the base cushion on. Backrest, which is your back cushion, clips onto the frame, which the frame can be found underneath the driver's side rear bed. There's 2 locating pins underneath, and there's 2 slots in the cushion, so that slides down, and there's a little clip that clips it in, so it clips onto the frame. And then when not in use, you can just lift it out, hide the seatbelt out of the way, and pop the backrest back on with the added extra backrest here. And you've got a side facing seat without the seatbelt in the way. And if you need that 5th seatbelt, frame goes in, that disappears, that turns around, and you've got a seatbelt, which is a backwards facing seatbelt.